Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Paula. On this channel I create content about lifestyle, productivity, advice, and much more. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell icon next to it. And if you do subscribe, please comment down below I subscribed, and we can chat in the comment section down below. So in today's video, I thought it'd be interesting and fun and hopefully helpful to give you guys my top podcasts for teens. So this is for teens. If you're a teenager and you're looking for podcasts to listen to, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So the very first podcast I think every teenager should listen to is called Deep Dive with Ali Abdaal. So Ali Abdaal is actually one of my favorite YouTuber ever. Like, I am subscribed to him with my bell turned on because I watch every single one of his videos, and he's literally an inspiration to me. Like, I truly admire like what he does and who he is, and so I watch a lot of his videos. And I think a while ago he actually started a podcast, and I was like, amazing. I actually found out from his YouTube videos that he had a podcast, so I went on to Spotify and I was listening to one of his podcasts, and I was like, so interesting, so I subscribed to him. So yeah, I recommend listening to Ali Abdaal's podcast titled Deep Dive with Ali Abdaal. Like, whenever I'm like taking the bus to school, I would just put on my AirPods and I will listen to an episode of his podcast. So this podcast delves into the mind of entrepreneurs, creators, and other inspiring people to uncover their philosophies, strategies, and tools that helps us live happier, healthier, and more productive lives. Ali Abdaal is like the king of productivity. I'm not even kidding you. Like, he is so productive. It actually baffles me how a person can be that productive. But I recommend that podcast a lot. So if you're into like self-help, development, productivity, definitely check out his podcast. The second podcast that I think every single teenager should listen to is called Teen Girl Talk. So this podcast is by Franklin and Susie Qatar. So these people actually aren't teenagers, but I love listening to the podcast because they talk about very interesting stuff like movies, TV shows, and just like books, and it's really interesting. So a bit of a summary about their podcast. This podcast is an excuse to watch some old teen movies together. So Teen Girl Talk joins siblings Franklin and Susan Qatar as they joyfully make their way through the media made for teens. We're talking movies, TV shows, music, books, and many more. They're not teenagers, but they definitely do have the minds of ones in a good aspect, I guess. Like, they're very funny. I love their podcast. Whenever I'm looking for a quick little laugh, really good podcast, and I recommend every single teenager to listen to them at least once and figure out if you like it. If you don't, then it's really fine. Just like listen to it. Again, the podcast is called Teen Girl Talk. It's a really good podcast. Alright, the third podcast on this list is also one of my favorites, and it is the Stephan Show. Along with Ali Abdaal, Stephan is one of my very most favorite YouTubers / people in the world. Stephan kind of delves into the more finance space. Although Ali Abdaal does have some finance videos, he's geared more towards productivity. But like Stephan, he's a millionaire. I think he was in real estate first, and then he like moved into YouTube and like content creation on social media. But he's a really good podcaster. The Stephan Show is a podcast for people looking to educate themselves in the world of finance. The podcast includes people calling in, giving their financial backgrounds and situations, then receiving financial advice from real estate investor Stephan. If you are someone who is interested in finance and would love to hear other people's interesting financial stories, this is a podcast for you. Like I said, I totally love this podcast. So the fourth podcast on this list is called Curious by Josh Peck. So Josh Peck, the one-time star of Drake and Josh, we all know him. If you don't, he was a star in the Nickelodeon show Drake and Josh. He delves into topics that are interesting to him. It interviews guest stars, including several YouTubers. I feel like his podcast is a little bit more chill. And one of my friends actually recommended this podcast to me, and I actually like it. It's a bit more chill. It's not as serious as the rest of these podcasts that I mentioned earlier. I like this podcast. It's like a place you will go to like relax. I feel like it's a really good podcast. So the 5th podcast on this list is titled Let's Be Friends by Sammy. Jaye? Sammy is actually a teenager. This podcast is all about having powerful and candid conversations with celebrities, activists, athletes, influencers, while also discussing real life issues. Really great podcast. Just get insights about these celebrities and influencers, just about like their brains and like what they're thinking, and it's a really good way to just get information from other people. The 6th podcast on this list is Mental Music. So this is a really good podcast. It's a podcast made for teens by teens, and it focuses a lot more on mental health. So on this podcast, they focus on topics like insomnia, how sound affects our everyday life, social media, and like mental health stuff. The 7th podcast on this list is called Part-Time Genius. This podcast is for teens who love asking absurd questions. So on this podcast, they discuss very weird topics. These are questions that at least every teenager or every teen or kid has asked themselves. Questions like, why is the sky blue? Why is this that? And like they have different like topics. Like I think they had a video about how rats keep outsmarting humans and like reasons to love raccoons. It's just like random topics like that. It's a very like fun, chill podcast. Number 8 podcast on this list is called the Socially Awkward Podcast. It's a great podcast if you're looking for a good laugh. Alright, the 9th podcast is called Stuff You Missed in History Class. This podcast is basically a way to teach you history, but in a fun and weird way. Tell you like real life like history stuff, but like in a fun, non-teacher, non-aggressive, more chill, like friends to friend type way. And the last podcast on the list of podcasts for today is called Tech Talk Daily. This is a great podcast. They have amazing guests on this podcast, and so every teen has probably dipped into 1 or 2 tech talk. I know. One thing I love about this podcast is that their episodes are quite short, like they're not that long. So if you're looking for like a quick little listen, this is a podcast for you. It's very easy to understand and definitely a great podcast just to acquire knowledge and understanding of several topics. Alright guys, this is the end of the video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more videos. I have so many fun, interesting videos coming very soon. If you have any video ideas, definitely leave them down in the comment section down below. I read all of my comments. Leave your recommendations down in the comment section down below. I will see you in my next video. Bye.